What Nick said was lovely, but it's not really true. Meaning,
That's what you told me.
That's what I told you. Yes, it isn't really true. In that I was referring to the title bit. I'm a gardener, really. I'm a gardener of people, and that's what makes the work that we're doing at Lloyd's special. There are some of my colleagues in the room, colleagues that have been in the business for a long time, colleagues that are joining us from the government, colleagues that are joining us from very secret places. But these are the people, and you are the people that allow me to come here and talk to you about the things that we do and tell you that we're a gardener. I don't have slides, and I don't have slides on purpose because we focus so much on the things that we can show, on the things that demonstrate our own value, that we run the risk of ending up forgetting the value of what we do. So we're not in the business of producing artifacts. I'm not in the business of producing slides. We're not in the business of doing, all these activities that apparently are mandated when you're doing service design or any other disciplines. And we tend to lose sight of what the prize is. And the prize is it's not even a product. The prize is an outcome for people. Nobody that I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, ever woke up in the morning and said, oh my God, today is the day that I get a piece of plastic in the mail with a magnetic strip. Nobody. What we want to do is have a way to go on holiday. We want to make sure that we can buy a birthday present for our kids. We want to make sure that we want to buy a house. Much like Matteo was talking about, people are looking for safety, for emotional fulfillment. The diamond ring that you give your girlfriend or your partner or your boyfriend when you want to get married. We focus on the value, but what we want is love returned to us. And so if we are designing for outcomes for people, and if we are in businesses that rely on the production of things, how can we marry those two things? And that's the beauty of the work that we do. And this is the focus of our practice. It doesn't really matter whether it's called UX design, if it's called service design, if it's called cooking school. It doesn't really matter. What matters is what we get at the end, what we make possible for other people to do at the end. And so yes, it is good to understand what the implications are. It is good to understand how we move from one step to the next. And this is not to bash anybody. Process is important. Having a structure that leads to that outcome is absolutely fundamental. And having ways of communicating what we're doing, why we're doing it, who we are doing it for, and what we hope to get at the end of it is absolutely crucial, but it's not the end all and be all. When I was working in the States, I was on a project for the federal government, and if you think England is traditional, try and go work in government in the United States. It's 100 years ago. And so we went there with our packs of things, and we were all decks and wireframes and Post-its and markers, and we were super excited because we were bringing the modern age into government. And we start talking about the things that we've done, and here's the product that we want to unleash at the end, and here are all the steps that we're going to go through, and here's development, and we need the coaches, and it's going to be fragile, really, and here are the wireframes. And the senior stakeholder is this man with a lot of expertise, he's a former doctor, looks at them, he's like, oh, I've never seen a chicken wire. Because wireframe for him made him think of a chicken coop, right? So from that point on, every time we talked about wireframes, we said chicken wire because he kept calling it chicken wire. And in the end, no chicken died. And we managed to finish the project. So why is this story important? It's important because it really does not matter. But what matters is that we understand the context in which we operate. And so Matteo hinted at, Matteo, who I've not hired yet, but I will eventually one day, hinted at systems. And this is one of the fundamentals of our service design practice. So yes, we focus on the design process. Yes, we focus on the understanding of the human needs behind the things that we are doing. But we cannot ever make a dent in the outcomes that we support unless we understand the system in which we operate. So if you think about a traditional way of doing design in a large or a small organization, it doesn't matter if you're in consulting or if you're in client side. Generally, they tell you, I want to do X, where X is either cost reduction or increasing revenue or uptake or a number of other things that are measured in numbers. And they tell you, these are your parameters, this is what, this is what I want, these are the numbers that need to move in a direction or another. Just go ahead and do it. The thing that happens, though, is that you may make some beautiful changes that make those numbers go up or down as your stakeholder wants. And in a little corner, in another system, something happens. And initially, you don't see that thing happening because, it's out of your scope. But then it starts growing. Let me give you an example. Imagine that you are an insurance provider, and you have people in the call center that are answering the phone call and, they're resolving client's problem. So what they have in the front is a series of screens. And those are the systems where the client data is. Those systems don't talk to each other. So the advisor on the phone has a piece of paper or a text editor window where when you call, they'll put in your policy number or your name or your date of birth or whatever the thing is. Now, one of those systems that the advisor is using is the system that allows us, say, to make changes to the beneficiary of a policy. And it's all technology, it's really expensive to support. So the CIO somewhere in the business decides we need to replace that. Sounds logical, right? So the system gets replaced. It's faster, it's cheaper, it doesn't cost as much to maintain, et cetera, et cetera. CIO is in the right, he's done his job. What happens to the customer? All of a sudden, we've got a number of customers calling us in because their policies are all wrong. And I'm not talking about something that has happened in Lloyd's where I work right now, but it happened at client company years ago. Changing that system made it so that our colleagues at that company were making more mistakes because they had developed a system, they had a mental model that enabled them to quickly jump between the screens. By replacing that one system in isolation, what we did, we increased the number of errors that were made that then were passed on down to the customer. So the fact that the customer had this beautiful, sleek interface with this lovely design journey really did not matter. Because ultimately, what we were doing was failing to serve that client right. And that is why in the practice I look after right now, yes, we design the beautiful journeys. Yes, we make all those beautiful things and the workshops and we get people involved and we go out and we talk to customers. But we focus very much on the mechanics of how we provide that service. So we design, we do system studies. We go and we see where the work is coming from. So when we go and listen to what our colleagues in the call center do, then we trace back we do what we call root cause analysis. We have a very healthy and thriving systems thinking practice that helps us understand and visualize the systems that contribute to the provision of the service, and they help us put together maps that don't just illustrate what the customer goes through and what the enablers are, but also their dependencies on the systems that are in the back. And so we get such a complete picture, and it's not always perfect, you know, and it's so big that we're never going to have a complete view of our world because it changes very quickly. But it helps us think about services in a different way, not just in terms of the impact that they have on the outside, but in terms of the impact that they have on the inside. And what is happening is that slowly, the way the organization thinks is changing. So we figured that, you know, this was all awesome. And you know, it is an awesome thing that we're able to put together two disciplines that are so complementary and that work so well together. But then, how are we helping all of our colleagues in the organization actually see what we see? The thing that I always see is that once you see the system, you can't unsee it, right? But that can make me become, I don't know, maybe a little arrogant. It's very easy to point the finger and judge and say, how can you not see that? It's so evident, right? It is evident because we're trained to see that, because we're trained to think that way. But if we are working with people that have done the same thing for a long time and they're expert at what they do and how they've done it, how can we take them along on this journey? And so we have created a way of organizing ourselves and organizing the work that creates mechanisms of support for our colleagues as well. So, you know, we have, of course, like every large organization, all these beautiful learning programs, but we also offer to the, you know, the units where the work happens. What we offer is coaching and assistance, and you know, taking people by the hand almost, and helping them see the things that we see, and also helping them think about how we might be able to measure the outcomes and the value of what we do in a different way. If our goal as service designers, systems thinkers, and so we call the whole team service design, but it really is service design, systems thinking, and agile coaching. We talk a lot about value. We talk about reducing failure demand, which is that failure that comes in the system deriving from our inability to service the customer or to serve the customer, to serve the customer well. So we have the coaches mixed into our fold, and we go out in squad formation almost. I don't know if yesterday you've seen the RAF flying above London information, and we do the same thing. We go there helping, not doing service design to the organization, but doing service design with the organization and helping them come along on this journey that's complicated. I mean, there's a lot to take on. And the thing that is resulting is that not only we're transforming the organization, we are also transforming ourselves. And we are learning, at least I know I'm learning something every day. And not just in terms of the technicality of what it is to be a designer. Technicalities are really interesting, and the tools are really cool, but I learned to make inferences with the other disciplines. I learned how to think about measurements and value and people and impact in a completely different way. While we're not a social enterprise like Shelter might be, we are committed as a financial services group to helping Britain prosper. That's our slogan, but really in changing outcomes, financial outcomes for the population. And so we extend this approach to service and to connectedness and to understanding the system to other organizations. And for instance, when we think about our customers that might be in financial difficulty, we do all those things that my colleagues before have talked about. We talk to the customers, we talk to the colleagues, we look at the data, et cetera, et cetera. But we go out in the community and we go out to other organizations. We went out to shelter, so people from my team actually spoke with Matteo and his colleagues to understand exactly how our mission to change outcomes for real people can be successful. Because we understand that what we have is a partial view of the reality of our customers, and it's only by connecting all the dots that we can do something different together. And so, it's not perfect. We change it every day. We continue to apply all the principles of service design to ourselves as an organization, but the result is quite exciting, and we are, we're seeing that the excitement is contagious, not just for people like you who understand design and do design, but also for people that traditionally we were kind of looking at with, different eyes because we thought we didn't get. So, as you've seen, we also have a very public commitment to doing things differently from every other organization. It's been in the news last week. We have appointed a chief design officer that comes from the States. And I know that this sounds like a sales pitch, but I think it is the demonstration that if you keep at it, if you're persistent in trying to connect to what you know, not just to the business needs of the organization, but to the human side of the organization, actually, what is initially a little shift, like was hiring me 2 years ago as service designer #1, then will have a long-term impact. And by the way, we're hiring. Thank you.